walking down the street and immediately know they were friends because of the way they looked, acted, or dressed. So often we see people who look alike and end up having some sort of relation to a point where we might wonder, is this all coincidental or can it be explained? What if I told you that you mimic the behavior of others around you? So to some extent, you end up becoming a version of the people you are with. You could end up mimicking a person's body language, facial expressions, terminology, clothing, moods, tastes, interests, hobbies, activities, countless things that make up a person's personality might be just imitation of others. This is called the chameleon effect. It's fundamentally what I have just told you. We mimic the behaviors of others around you. We do this to fit in. Your brain knows that you tend to gravitate more towards people with similar interests as you. So your brain mimics the behaviors of others, mimics their interests, mimics their values, mimics their beliefs, in order to increase their chances of gravitating towards you. You may have seen some sort of example of the chameleon effect in your own life. Maybe you had a friend, and this friend had very similar beliefs to you, very similar values, very similar interests, and all of these things that made up your characters aligned perfectly to build your friendship. So this friend starts hanging out with new people. And the more she hangs out with these new people, the more you begin to see small changes. At first, this friend starts dressing differently, listening to new music, watching different TV shows, shallow stuff. You don't really mind. And the more time this person spends with new people, the more negative traits you begin to notice. So maybe they're more rude, they're more explosive, less energetic. They just don't have a positive outlook on life anymore. And all of these things that align for you to become friends start disaligning, and you start distancing yourself from this person. And slowly, you completely lose your friendship with this person because of the negative influence of other people. There's a study from New York University by Tanya Chardin and John Bard, in which they had 39 female and male students do an examination. The experiment consisted of two people in a room, a student and a Confederate. The student did not know that the Confederate was a Confederate. They were told that it was another student. During the experiment, they had to describe a photo. While they described the photo, the Confederate was instructed to do certain behaviors. Play with their hair, scratch their nose, cross their legs, have a certain attitude towards the whole situation. After the whole experiment was conducted, the footage was reviewed by an impartial judge. The judge decided that all of the behaviors that the Confederate was instructed to do, the student would begin to do as well after a while. These were behaviors that the student was not even aware were there. The student thought the Confederate was another student. They were not existent to them, but they began mimicking them, even though they were focused on the photo they were describing. We know this happens, but why does this happen? There's a study review on behavioral research from 2003 that demonstrates that the reason that we humans feel this need to fit in and be accepted might date back to our far ancestors who relied on others for food, shelter, and protection. We as humans in modern society don't need to fit in to survive. We don't need to fit in to have a house, we don't need to fit in to have food, but we still feel this need because it's a feeling that we long for in everyday life. This effect is very notable throughout history. If you look back on the remains of different time periods, you can see that all of these people were just mimicking each other. They all dressed similarly, had similar housings, have similar interiors, and they were all expected to act and talk the same way, all to fit into these social norms, which were basically just people mimicking each other, which is why when a new trend was introduced, everyone would immediately do it as well. Now, I want you to take a moment to look at the people sitting next to you, the person on your left and the person on your right. I want you to look at something that this person is doing. Maybe their legs, their arms, their hands, their facial expressions, anything. Now I want you to look at yourself. I want you to look at the way you're sitting. Your legs, your arms, your facial expression, your attitude in general. I can almost assure you that something about the person you're sitting next to and yourself is similar. And the mere mere minutes that I have been talking to you, your mind has become aware of the behaviors of others and began to mimic them. You're focused on me. You're focused on what I'm saying and the idea that I'm presenting to you. But regardless of where your attention is, your mind is still aware of this, and it's still actively trying to help you fit in with people you might not even know. You can also think of your friend group. Maybe you all dress similarly, there's a word you all use, a joke you all make, you all like the same artist, you all watch a similar TV show. And if you think back to before you were friends with these people, was this something that you were interested in? Was this something that you liked? Was this something that you did? Even if it wasn't before you were friends with these people, even if they have been your friends for a long time, is this something that you would be interested in yourself? Or are you imitating others? This can also happen with your music taste, the music you like to listen to, your favorite artist. You might have just listened to someone else doing that and decided that that was going to be your thing now. When I started seeing the chameleon effect, I became hyper-aware of others around me. I would see people walking down the street and think to myself, that's crazy, they all walk the same, they all have the same posture, the same stance. And I would notice it in my family, in my friend group, and so many people around me. And I want you to do this as well. I want you to become aware of people that do this, because it's so interesting to see people walking in the exact same way and actually realize that there's reasoning behind it. Of course, the chameleon effect can seem harmless at first. Oh, it's fine, I just dress like my friends. But the chameleon effect can lead to you adopting self-destructive behaviors. There have been studies on smoking that prove that the recent decrease of smoking, that the status of your friend group affects your status as well. So people who quit smoking or don't smoke are most likely parts of friend groups of people who don't smoke or quit smoking. It doesn't just work with smoking. You can end up adopting habits such as smoking, drinking, maybe excessive things. In general, things that aren't good for you. And you may have noticed this in yourself or in others. And you don't only adopt habits, you also adopt moods. Your brain, your body, your being reflects the moods of others around you. So you spend a lot of time with a person who is very pessimistic, not very upbeat, maybe doesn't have the best outlooks on life, you will begin to do this as well. And this can have horrible effects on your mental health. It could lead to horrible mental health problems, things that aren't good for you, not good for your body. Now, of course, I'm not telling you don't hang out with people who aren't very energetic, but you have to be aware of this. You have to be aware of the things you are mimicking and the moods you are mimicking. You have to take a moment, think about what you're doing, think about what you're reflecting, think about what you're imitating, and think about whether or not this is good for you. I want to share with you my personal experience with the chameleon effect. I have this friend, and I've always seen this friend as an amazing human being. She is so well-postured, so well-mannered, so nice. She always chats with everyone. And I just thought, wow, this girl is great. And the more time I spent with her, the more I began to realize that these behaviors that I admired about her, I began to do as well. So at first it was just when I was with her. So when I was with her, I would maybe ask the lady at Starbucks how her day was. And the more time I spent with her, the more these positive habits that I admired about her became my habits as well. And this is a perfect example of how the chameleon effect can have positive repercussions. If you spend a lot of time with your friends who are very interested in exercise or running or anything, you might begin to do this as well in order to spend more time with them or maybe fit in with them. And same thing with maybe food or other habits that you admire about people you may end up reflecting. Of course, the chameleon effect, like everything, can have its positive and can have its negatives. But the most important thing to always remember is to keep track of yourself. Keep track of what matters to you. Keep in mind your beliefs, your values, your interests, your hobbies, even irrelevant stuff like the movies you like to watch or the music you like to listen to. Because if you don't, you may end up losing these things. You don't want to be looking down the line in a few years and look at your life as a compilation of things that others around you have done. You don't want to think every decision I have made, everything that I like, everything that I thought was my personality, is just what other people do. And it's very scary. It's very scary to think of your personality and think of it as something that other people have put in you. But you have to be aware, and you have to keep in mind yourself. And the next time you see a group of people walking down the street, and you slightly giggle to yourself because they look alike, remember this TED Talk and remember the comedian.